that eggnog? I love eggnog.
It would tear me up to know that a guy like you didn't make it to a Christmas dinner table.
I'm home! Daddy!
Oh, I have missed you so much.
Boys, it's stocking time.
It is so nice to have you three kids together again under this roof. Christmas is my favorite time of year.
Bon appetit.
Ooh, I love ribs. How do you like my family brisket? It's not supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be about warmth and tradition, if it's special. I mean, really special. Don't be a white Christmas. Look at me. Yes or no?
What?
Merry Christmas, bitch.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
Hey, my friends, it's time for yet another holiday rendition of Do You Even Movie? I'm, of course, your host, Henrique Couto, here with my good buddy and co-host, Double D, I forget. No, David DeNoyer here. And we are extra jolly.
Yes, we are.
Because not only are we full of good cheer and joy to the world, yes, but also just generalized holiday stress.
Absolutely.
Which wouldn't make sense if that wasn't the case.
Absolutely would not. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where we love Christmas so much, but because of that, we kind of throw ourselves into it every year to where it's like when we get to our time where we get to watch movies together, it's just completely us unloading.
Unloading's a good way to put it. In fact, you know what? Real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, editor, let's throw in something a little Christmassy underneath, okay? I want to tell a story to start this show. A Christmas story.
Okay.
Years ago, there was a young man named David, unfortunately. And David was having a very difficult Christmas season.
Yes.
For he hated his boss and also probably himself.
Yeah, a little bit.
But David had a friend named a name no one can pronounce when reading it. Perhaps it was Henrique. Perhaps it was Heinrich. Perhaps it was Henrique. Who can say? But one day David came to Briskett, however you say his name, and said, I know, bro, we're supposed to watch a movie together, but I'm just not feeling very Christmassy. And his best buddy felt that in his core being. Because both of these dumbasses love Christmas so very much.
You do.
So what did he do but say, you come over right now and you sit down. We're watching Eaten Alive, a.k.a. Mangiati VV. To which David said, but that's not a Christmas movie. To which Henrique said, it's got a green jungle. It's got red blood. That's Christmas.
And Santa.
And there is a Santa Claus at the beginning, which he didn't remember at first. So they watched that film and they had a laugh. And they watched that film and felt queasy when the real animal death occurred.
Yes.
But in the end, laughter was had and Christmas was saved.
Christmas was saved.
In a way, it really was.
By Joe D'Amato, correct?
I don't know. No. Mengiate Vivi is Lindsay.
Oh, Lindsay. Yes, yeah, it is Lindsay. You're right.
But no, we one time were not feeling the Christmas season, and I made Mengiate Vivi become a Christmas movie.
And it has been since.
Now, that being said, that transitions moderately well into Mercy Christmas, which if you haven't seen Mercy Christmas, kids, you need to watch it. It's readily available on a ton of streaming services for you to enjoy or to own yourself on DVD or Blu-ray.
Yes.
And it is a holiday film that features merriment, lights, lots of family dinners. Also, cannibalism, masochism, violence. Really, the only thing they didn't touch on that I'm kind of surprised they didn't is there's no incest.
No incest at all, no.
You know, I'm honestly shocked they didn't just have the brother and sister fucking kiss, fuck us. But that being said, phenomenal movie.
Yeah, we have just finished watching it, which I think we may have skipped it last year. I can't remember. I think we did.
We did. It's a little heavy. Sometimes to watch, but this year we had to bring it back because we had to talk about it on this podcast, because this is one of many films that Dave and I have enjoyed. That is so underappreciated.
100%.
I want to say so much so that Mercy Christmas is in a top echelon of Christmas horror movies. And to be not even 10 years old.
No.
And in that space. Because it does things. I'm actually, shocker, humble brag, I'm actually reading a book about Christmas horror movies right now.
Yes, you are. Bastard.
The title of which I can't remember.
Have a Scary Little Christmas, I think.
A Scary Little Christmas, I think is you're right. But it is like an academic book about Christmas horror movies. So it's not just like, this with gut blood splats, blah, blah, although it is a little bit of that. It is a movie about all of the Christmas horror films and why they're Christmassy. And one thing it mentions that this film has heavily is there are kind of two kinds of Christmas horror movies. Christmas horror movies that take place at Christmas and use that as a setting. And films that take the Christmas season and use it to kind of weasel into your nostalgia center and kind of get you to take your expectations of a Christmas movie and run with it in a scary way. And this film absolutely is the latter and not the former. It is a Christmassy movie about Christmas and about family, but it is a disgusting, nasty, mean-spirited horror film. Harrowing is a good word for it. And we discovered this just from our constant hunt.
I mean,
for a holiday horror, and just holiday in general, but especially holiday horror.
That is one thing that I think we really need to make our listeners clear on, is that when Henrique says that we're Christmas fans, we will literally scour your streaming services, insert here name, for any title we can come up, whether it's new, whether it's old, or we just haven't seen it. I mean, that's how we came across such titles as like Mother Krampus and Red Christmas, which if you ever want an anti-abortion Christmas film with
and
Dee Wallace,
who doesn't?
Red Christmas.
And that's how we found this one.
Yeah, exactly how.
In fact, this one I'd never heard a word about.
No.
I think you found it. Or did I find it?
We found it together on Prime, I believe. I think we were just going through.
I think I just searched Christmas horror.
Yeah.
And it came up.
Yeah, and we watched the trailer and it was just like, well, that looks fun. And we took a shot on it. And I mean, this is probably our third or fourth time watching it together.
We were both quiet when it ended because we couldn't believe how awesome it was.
Yes.
And I would not say that lightly.
No.
It was awesome. This film has everything I love in a mean-spirited horror movie.
Yeah.
And something you're going to learn about me as you listen to me enthuse about holiday movies and horror movies in general.
Yeah.
I don't mind a mean-spirited film. Not at all. I will watch a mean-spirited horror movie. But if it has no payoff, then it becomes kind of hard to digest for me. Pardon the pun.
It's one of those things where when you get into enough mean-spirited horror films, or even just horror films in general, the ending where it's like, oh, well, good didn't prevail and evil still did. It's like you can take those for a little bit, but after a while.
Yeah, that was edgy in like 2007, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And then
everybody started doing it.
And it was no longer exciting or scary.
Open-ended, where it's just like the killer may have gotten away. They found a burning mask. Like stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, you mean like in that piece of crap Halloween 2?
Shut up.
It's Dave's favorite. But no, in all seriousness, it's like watching Last House on the Left without the last segment.
Yeah, last 10 minutes,
Yeah. that movie would be hard to take.
Yeah.
Like I remember that that David DeFalco movie, Chaos?
Chaos, I think.
Is
Yeah.
it called Chaos?
I think it was Chaos. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Whatever. It was his ripoff of Last House on the Left, except it ended with the bad guys winning.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, what a pointless experience.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not here to say that it's a bad movie.
No.
I'm here to say that it was not for me. For me, if you're going to have characters do truly unforgivable things, as an audience, give us something back.
Yeah.
Let us get revenge.
Yes.
And this movie, not only was it fearless in its mean-spiritedness, it was fearless in creating characters that we really feel for.
Care about, yeah.
And efficiently.
Yes.
This film is like 83 minutes, and it absolutely delivers so much. Now I feel like I've built it up an awful lot. So Dave, throw us the pertinent deets on Mercy Christmas.
All right, Mercy Christmas, 2017 release date, shot in 2016. This film is directed by Ryan Nelson. He has only this one debut to his name, but he was
directorial
debut.
Well, you can't have more than one debut.
No, you cannot. I always make that mistake. But I would like to point out, in regards to his background, he was a grip on Bad Boys 2 in 2003, Wedding Crashers in 2005, Real Steel in 2011, The Avengers in 2012. Then he did second unit key grip on Hunters, the Amazon Prime series, and he's also just recently wrapped key grip on Justified City Primeval.
It would appear that he is a key grip for like his main gig now,
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Yeah,
and Justified. I haven't watched City Primeval. Have you yet?
I haven't either yet. My
We're
parents
both
watched
huge
the first
Justified
episode.
fans, but we haven't watched that yet. So no, but I got to say something right now. Ryan Nelson, I know you're watching this. Direct another film.
Yes.
I look. I am a B-movie director as my day job. Just if that film underperformed, if it did not make money for you, it is not the film's fault. And it is not your fault.
No.
You did a phenomenal job making a highly entertaining film that was well directed, well thought out. Come back.
Yes.
Make another movie, for the love of God. Don't be discouraged. That's all I want to say. If you're feeling discouraged, if for some ungodly reason you're watching or listening to this, we want you back.
Yeah.
You're a damn fine filmmaker.
Absolutely.
And you deserve all of the praise you're about to get. So anyway, sorry to digress.
So going back to him as well, he also wrote this with Beth Levy Nelson, his wife. So they wrote this film together. This is shot by cinematographer Kenneth Neal Moore. He was a camera operator on 10 Items or Less in 2009. Take Shelter in 2011.
That like
Michael Shannon.
Oh my God, that movie is so painful and good.
Yeah. He also did Mud in 2012, Righteous Gemstones in 2019,
Nice.
The Hunt in 2020.
And I want to mention Righteous Gemstones. That's interesting because I know for a fact that Ryan Nelson studied film in North Carolina, just like the guys behind Righteous Gemstones, just like David Gordon Green and all those folks. They're all from North Carolina or went to school together in North Carolina. So that's a really interesting tidbit.
Hell yeah.
And I bet you that, that makes sense that he's a camera op on all these movies, because what we have here, and it warms my goddamn heart, is we have a film directed by a guy who usually is a key grip or a grip, and shot by a guy who's often a camera op. You have people who are biding their time to step up and become that next step. And that happens all the time. You'll see assistant cameras become DPs and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, like, y'all brought your goddamn A game. I'm sorry. I'm raving because I love movies and I love B movies.
Yeah.
I work in B movies. I'm a big believer that there are generally no bad movies, only bad audiences. You're often the wrong audience for the film, but the film is fine.
Yeah.
It's rare that I watch a movie where I'm like, maybe they cobbled together 30 grand, maybe they didn't, maybe it was all favors, and they just knocked my goddamn socks off.
Yeah.
So honestly, I would kiss you all on the mouth. I mean that. I really do. I would kiss you all on the mouth. So anyway, sorry, I keep digressing.
And then wrapping us up is the editor on this, because the one thing that I solely love about this film is the editing in
That's the only thing you love.
That's not solely. Solely's the wrong word.
Sorely?
Sorely? No. Shut up. But the editor is Matt Evans. He did Prick, which was Nelson's short film back in 2012. He also was an editor on the Cloverfield Paradox in 2018.
Oh wow, that's a big gig.
The main editor on Overlord in 2018.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Black and Blue in 2019. Samaritan, the Sylvester Stallone movie.
Yes. I like that one. That's pretty good.
Main editor on The Pope's Exorcist.
You haven't seen that, have you?
I have not yet. I need to.
You would
really
love it. You would absolutely love The Pope's Exorcist. You need to go see that.
I do.
And by go see that, I mean watch it at home because it's out of theaters. So.
That's true. So wrapping us up is the synopsis of this film. So Mercy Christmas 2017. This is the back of the Blu-ray cover. It says, Michael Briskett crunches numbers in his isolated, windowless office while coworkers enjoy the Christmas party he wasn't invited to. When his boss asks help with an urgent year-end report, Michael is flattered, but there's just one catch. It needs to be done by Christmas. The stack of research arrives with his boss's beautiful assistant, Cindy. Michael is smitten and he invites her to his holiday gathering that weekend. Cindy ends up being the only guest to show up and the two bond over holiday drinks. Cindy convinces Michael to bring his work along and join her family for a traditional Christmas celebration. While there, a spiked glass of eggnog lands Michael in the family's basement with his hands and feet bound among 3 other prisoners. Michael needs to deliver the year-end report or suffer the way those before him have suffered.
I gotta admit, I mean, that's a very long way to get there.
Yeah.
But it hits all the main points very well. But I understand you feel you could improve on that synopsis.
My synopsis, Michael, a Christmas-loving hard worker, accepts a dinner invitation only to find out he's on the menu for a traditional family of cannibals.
A traditional family of cannibals. What does that mean?
They're traditional family for Christmas, and they're also cannibals. I don't know. The wording on it, I was trying to get the wording right last
This is
night.
what happens when you use Dave GPT.
Dave GPT. I wouldn't even pay for that, and I probably am that.
Is a large language model. Dave GPT is a small language model. That is a nerd joke. If you laughed at this, I'm sorry you don't have a girlfriend.
All right, you ready to get into this?
Apparently, I already got into the eggnog.
Shall we put on our bibs and get ready for the dinner?
I am ready, Eddie. So let's dive into this one.
So Mercy Christmas is the story of Michael Briskett, and Michael Briskett is played by Steven Hubbell. He was a grip on the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicle series, and also was
on Avengers.
On Avengers,
so they probably met gripping.
Yeah, because he also did Prick in 2012.
I would say their friendship. Was gripping.
It was gripping indeed.
No, though, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because you really, seriously, you never know where you're going to find talented folks like that.
Yeah.
And I got to say, if he, you're about to talk more. Does he have any big acting credits?
No, that is his only one, actually. That's his only acting credit, period.
For real?
Yes.
Because the guy who plays Michael Briskett in this movie, he does not leave a fucking thing on the table.
No.
He is all in on that role. He is crying, he's pleading, he's begging, he's sincere, he's insecure, he's a damn fine actor.
Yeah.
I am honestly shocked that he does not have more.
Steven Hubbell. Yeah, he only has his main role is Michael Briskett for Mercy Christmas in 2017. He's got a couple short ones before that. Oh, and there's also a short in 2010 called Mercy Christmas.
Yeah, I know. You didn't know about that?
I think I did.
Mercy Christmas was apparently a short first, and then they developed it. Probably used the short to raise money or something. But this dude, if he has not acted a lot, that is shocking because he's so good.
So good.
And sincerely the heart and soul of the movie.
Oh, 100%. I mean, without Michael Briskett in the performance that we get from Steven Hubbell, the movie would not have as much impact, even if the cast of the family is spot fucking on.
Yeah, which they're dead good too. Yeah. Damn good. I meant to say not dead. Dead good.
And going into the family, we have David Ruptecht, who's playing Abe Robillard. He was on the Rockford Files in 1977. He appeared in The Incredible Shrinking Woman in 81, Three's Company in 84, Talking Walls in 87, Days of Our Lives in 88. He had 133 episodes of Supermarket Sweep as the host in 1990.
Wow, that I didn't know.
Yeah. And he was also on The Drew Carey Show in 2001 and made a brief appearance on True Blood in 2008.
This dude is so wholesome.
Yes.
He is so, he is as close as you could get to an older sitcom dad.
Yeah.
Because his kids are all in their 30s.
Yeah.
So when you watch it, it's like, he's an older gentleman. He's like the age of our dads if we both had dads.
Yeah. He's the grandpa. God damn it. That took me a second. Damn you.
That was so good. That was so good. Oh my God, I have tears in my eyes for multiple reasons now. No, that's okay. I'm the bastard in the room.
Yes,
no, that was perfect. Anyway, no, but yeah, he's so wholesome.
So wholesome.
And he really disarms you when you first meet him.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, so Briskett is, as the synopsis said, he's a hard worker. He's hard at work at this Christmas party. And then his boss, who is Andy Robillard, who's played by Cole Gleason, piece of shit. Basically,
absolute. I wouldn't call him I'd call him a hunk of shit.
Hunk of shit.
Like this guy, the writers of this film, were working out some issues with an old boss.
I think so.
And fair enough. No, and rightfully so. Some bosses are that bad.
Yeah.
So I mean, like the cruelty of this boss and the level of like disdain for anything human he has. Mwah, chef kiss. Anyway, continue.
So Andy Robillard, he is the boss of Briskett, and he basically tasked him with assignment that's like a huge project.
This giant binder of information.
Number running and everything that has to be done by Christmas. And I think we join them at like what's got to be the 23rd, I would imagine. Because
it's the night before Christmas Eve.
Yeah, so 22nd, 23rd. And he is tasked with this job. So he's like, I'll have my assistant bring the paperwork down. The assistant turns out to be his sister, Cindy. But we don't find that out right away. She's played by Casey O'Keefe, and she is awesome in this as well.
Oh, yeah, I don't know where they found everybody.
Yeah.
Or how they found everybody, but goddamn, talk about lightning striking every single role.
Yeah. So Cindy actually goes to Briskett's Christmas party. It is literally just the two of them, and they have the best time. Like, it starts off a little awkward.
So sweet.
It really is.
Yeah, it's so, like, it's a meet cute.
Yeah.
It is legit. Oh, my God. It's a meet cute. MEAT.
Yes, it is.
That's for me.
That's for you.
That's for me. I deserve that.
But no, what you get to witness is that they're too awkward, like at first, and then like they both just love Christmas so much. And, Briskett, his mom, he talks about how his mom goes on cruises, and he really doesn't get to spend much time with her in the holidays.
And she's the only family he has. Yeah.
So she comes to the Christmas party. They exchange gifts, which is super cute. She exchanges these this cookie. I can't think what is it. Not cookie dough. It's baking powder, basically, right?
Yeah.
So like a Christmas cookie recipe baking powder, and he gives her a power strip because he wanted something to be practical. We'll get back to that.
This movie wastes no time and no motion. It is such a great experience. I remember one year I did that as the midnight movie at my Christmas party.
You did actually have that in my notes.
And it went over huge.
It went over super well.
Yeah.
So they're having their little Christmas party together. They're laughing. They're sharing memories, favorite Christmas movies, all this stuff. And at the end of the night, she decides to invite him to her family Christmas. And he's like, well, won't that be awkward? And she's like, no, they would love to have you.
Yes. And they avoided saying they'd love to have you for dinner.
Yeah, they did.
Which I appreciate because that was so easy. Remember, kids, Mercy Christmas, in my opinion, damn near a 5-star film, doesn't go for that low-hanging fruit. Meanwhile, Blood Rage says that's isn't cranberry sauce like 5 times.
Yes, it does.
So anyway, but yeah, so their whole scene is so cute.
Yeah.
Because she shows up and realizes she's the only one there.
Yeah.
And as soon as she realizes that, instead of being awkward, instead of being weird, she just goes, eggnog.
Yeah.
I love eggnog.
I love eggnog.
And they just bond over the fact that they clearly both unironically love Christmas.
Yeah.
The only problem is how dark that gets a little bit later, but it seems like it's an unironic love of Christmas. Though. And I do wonder if, knowing that what we know, which we've already revealed enough to know that they're cannibals, I wonder if going to the party was a way to test if he would be missed by anyone, like a way to like confirm that he could be a meal.
I honestly think it is because she asked him about the family. She asked him about, do you have any more?
She grills him about everything.
So,
right.
because I even looked at you at one point, I was like, is she a patsy to like just to get him to go? Because
God, yeah. But I don't think her boss, who turns out to be her brother, I don't think he was completely in on it.
No.
He seemed somewhat surprised to see him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could be wrong on that though.
So they hit it off. She invites him to Christmas. They go to the Christmas, and that's when we meet, like I said, Abe Robillard, Robillard, who is played by David Ruptecht, and then we meet Granny, who is played by Gwen Van Dan.
And my God, she's great. Perfect casting. Absolute 10 out of 10.
134 acting credits on her resume.
Oh, so she was like a journeywoman.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was. I thought she was one of those people who's been in a lot of stuff.
Dark Shadows in 1966, Kentucky Fried Movie in 77, Halloween in 78, even though I think her scene was deleted. She's a nurse in the sanitarium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
wait, if she was a nurse in the sanitarium?
TV cut.
I was about to say that.
TV cut.
Look at this freaking guy. Cuts me off, doesn't even let me say my piece. TV cut. TV cut.
Stir Crazy in 80, Days of Our Lives 83, Star Trek Generations film in 94, and also was in Burlesque in 2010. You'll have, she steals the movie the immediate that she's in there because she's that classic holiday granny where it's like, oh, she's so sweet. Oh, she said shit.
Yeah, and she says giblets instead of giblets.
Yeah. So we meet the rest of the family, which is Bart, which is the brother, and we meet Philip, who is a guy that's kind of just hanging out there to get at Cindy.
He's Cindy's ex.
Yeah, Cindy's ex.
And she doesn't want to reconcile, but the family likes him, so they're like, why not? Shoot your shot there, sport.
Yeah. So we meet Andy, which we've already met because, again, he's the boss, and he shows up.
Now, the way... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The way they reveal that this is Mr. Robillard's family is the best. First of all, Briskett... What a name.
Yeah.
What a great...
Well, he even says that.
Yeah.
Briskett, that's my favorite cut of meat. Love that name. So before they reveal that this is his boss's family, he gives this wonderful speech about, like, I've never really had an actual... I might cry. I've never really had an actual Christmas dinner before, but thanks to you guys, I'm really excited to have a nice time with great people and good food. Yeah.
And see, I'll get tears in my eyes because I believe in Christmas.
Yeah.
I really do. I believe that Christmas is a time when people are better than they normally are. They're kinder, they're sweeter. And if you disagree, maybe you need to be kinder and sweeter. I'm gonna fucking say it because I'm old now. I'm almost 40. I really do believe that Christmas is the perfect excuse to be a better person.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I love that whole scene where he says, thank you all so much and everything like that. And then they eat their food, which is disgusting because we also kind of left out, there is foreshadowing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We see them kidnapping the meat.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
It's hard because this movie has so much going on so quick and it's so interesting, but we witness a woman get abducted.
Yeah.
We witness a guy who's a ticket scalper get abducted and beaten up, and we meet an old man who gets stolen from a nursing home.
Yeah.
And so those are the people that make it clear something is not quite right.
Yeah. And also we get right into the horror with that too, because when the chick gets abducted by the bar, we watch the chick she's talking to at the bar get brutally stabbed.
Yeah, she gets stabbed to death.
Because that's one thing that we want to be clear about with this movie. It is not pleasant when it comes to the violence.
No. And that's the way I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be ha ha ha, people are getting stabbed to death. Nah, I think you got to make it hurt.
To a T, this is a dark horror comedy.
I would call it pitch black.
Pitch black, yeah. Pitch black, absolutely. So, Robillard is like, hey, are you enjoying my family brisket? And at this point, Abe, the dad, has handed him a glass of eggnog. He's like, I hear you're an eggnog guy.
Yeah, and he's drank it.
Yeah.
He started drinking it.
Yeah.
And he's drugged.
Yeah, he's drugged.
But that's one of the best parts is when he says, when he sees him, he says, you like my family. I love the way they do it because he goes, Mr. Robillard? And all three men at the table go, yes. Chef's kiss.
So
you're going to hear so many chef's kisses. I know. It's hard to chew on.
Yeah.
I know. No, I don't even mean to. I'm not even meaning to. But no, there are so many moments in this movie that are just straight up just great moments, really well thought out. And that is one of them that when we were watching it, I was probably maybe higher on this movie the first watch than you even, because I really appreciated everything it did.
Yeah.
And when we were watching it, literally, I think we were like 10 minutes in and I turned to you and went, yeah, I wasn't as excited to watch this movie because I forgot just how good it is.
How great it is, yeah.
And that's saying something when there's a movie that you remember loving.
Yeah.
But you're like, wait, oh fuck, this really is
good.
Great.
Yeah,
This movie is so good. I remember I said it earlier and then went yuck, yuck, yuck because I said this movie's so good it should be fattening.
Yes, you did. Oh
I wasn't trying.
I know.
I am a poetic man and I use a lot of food poetic speech. I took off my glasses and now I can't see anything. I'm scared.
Oh,
okay,
well.
you go back, David.
Going back. So then Briskett gets taken out of the basement, and this is one thing I want to make clear with this movie in regards to the separation of its settings. So it's basically a one-location horror film for the most part, or one-location film.
Yeah, they're in this house.
Yeah.
And the house is not super big.
No.
It's upper middle class.
Yeah.
It's not hugely decorated. It's very spacious. I know what you're thinking. It's like, why is he like, what am I, a real estate agent? But my point is, it's almost, I mean, it looks like on the top floor, half the time, it's like a Christmas comedy movie.
Yeah.
And then the basement is fucking Saw.
Despair, harrowing acts, and just, I mean, everything.
It's Saw. I mean, I really mean that. Like, it's the collector.
Yeah.
In that
God,
basement.
Yeah, collector's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's dank, it's dark, it's blue.
Yeah.
There's nothing lifelike in it, but then when you go upstairs, it's all warm colors and soft music and soft light. And that's why I use the phrase meet cute about them, because like the movie, when they are not just showing the horrors of that basement, the movie is almost like a Hallmark movie.
Absolutely.
It's pretty looking.
Yeah.
It's very pleasing to look at, and then it stops.
Yeah, it's decked out for Christmas upstairs, and there's some Christmas decorations downstairs, and we'll get to that right now.
Yeah, there's that light up sign that says Merry Christmas.
So we get a peek early on from Bart, who comes up from the basement, that there's some freaky stuff going on down there.
And
so
Bart is a mountain of a man with a big ponytail. He's definitely like the physical enforcer
only
of
thing
everything.
on his resume, by the way. Only thing
Really?
he's been in. Yeah.
Wow, he's good in it.
He's
he
great.
Really is. He's good.
Yeah. So we meet in the basement Catherine, who's the kidnapped bartender. She's played by Whitney Nielsen. We meet Clark, who's the old man, played by Stephen T. Bartlett. And then we meet Eddie, who is the ticket scalper, played by DJ Hale. And all three of them are like, what the fuck are we doing down here? Like, what's going on? Because Briskett's like still trying to make sense of what's happening.
Well, and he's the most freshly drugged, too.
Yeah, freshly aloof, freshly drugged. And that is when we get to meet those three, and then we see Abe and Bart come down, and because they need to get some pieces for the recipe. Because
from the old man, the old man.
Because what we find out is this is the first Christmas that they've gotten back together since the mom has passed previously.
The year earlier.
And Casey is the one, or Cindy is the one who is in charge of basically making the whole dinner.
She's taking over the matriarchal position of the family. And that's the one, the honeypot, the one who got him involved in all this.
Yeah.
And that's another element that's very Hallmark movie-ish, is like a family recovering from loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
There are a lot of moments in this movie where like two family members are in the kitchen, and there's that moment where it's like, I'm so glad that we're all together. I just wish your mother could be here to see this. And then they're cooking human body parts. Like it is pitch black. And now is a good time to mention, as they take meat off of that guy.
Yeah.
Cannibalism gets to me in movies and TV shows. It makes me squirm. You literally, all you have to do is take a piece of normal meat, like a piece of chicken that's cooked, and go, this is human skin. And I will go, oh, okay.
He will. I've seen it.
No, I can't help it. It's just my imagination. It makes me grossed out to the point where I have tried being vegan.
Yeah.
And honestly, like in some cases, I liked it a lot because I didn't have to think about meat so much. I loved the Hannibal series, but I had to be hours out of meals to watch it because they would film in the Hannibal TV series. You watched it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they would film him cooking human meat like
the lungs.
Like it was. They would film it like it was the Food Network.
Yeah.
It would be beautiful.
Cuts,
and attractive. So, and that's kind of what they do here as well.
Absolutely is. Because what we find out is that with her taking over the Christmas, that she has to make all these recipes. And that's kind of where a lot of the dark humor comes in, because you've got Abe and Bart that are coming down there and chopping off legs and taking kidneys and discussing where the meat cuts come from, where
doing
the best
dirty
come.
work.
Yeah. And because of that, now we have basically a buildup of, well, who's going to make it through these four in the basement? And right off the bat, they take the old man out of the equation.
Yeah, right away.
He gets his giblets, I think, made for the first feast.
Yeah, which is mostly it's an organ kind of thing. Not the cute giblets that mean your testicles.
Yeah.
Although that comes later.
Yeah. And then to make matters worse, you have freaking Andy coming back down into the basement and grabbing Briskett to take him back upstairs because he still needs these works done by Christmas.
He needs the work done because the meeting that he needs all that paperwork and research done for is on the 26th.
Yeah. And as we mentioned earlier, the power strip comes back into play because that is what Briskett gifted Cindy at their little Christmas party. And he decides that he's going to use that against Briskett, and he does by wrapping Christmas lights around him, singeing off some of the wires so that they shock, and now he can shock Briskett with the power strip and Christmas lights wrapped all around him, which, keep in mind, Briskett loves Christmas.
He adores Christmas, everything about it.
So he's using the gift that he got for Cindy and also his love of Christmas with the Christmas lights and everything against him to make him work while knowing that he's most likely going to get killed and eaten.
Most likely? No, he's going to because, I mean, come on, they're not going to be, sold out by that. They're not going to have that take them down. No, and what Dave is saying, because I think you painted a picture of the literal but not the visual. Mm-hmm. So literally, Briskett is wrapped in Christmas lights. But some of the wires are stuck into his skin.
Yeah.
So when he plugs them in, he lights up like a Christmas tree and then starts convulsing in pain. And that is the pain that he uses to force Briskett to work. Yeah. It's so fucking twisted.
It's very twisted. And not to make matters worse, but they also are very, very on par to make sure that they have this shocking sound effect every time that it happens. Leave my words alone.
No, but you're right. No. This movie, they don't skip on anything.
No.
And the pain of the special of the sound effects.
Yeah.
Actually, the sound effects in this movie are really strong, by the way.
Absolutely.
During one of the massacre scenes, they had the sound of blood dripping so properly. I thought my dog was peeing.
You thought he was peeing,
I thought Chicano was taking a leak in the back of my house. And I was like, hold on. I paused it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's the movie. So I mean, they didn't skip on anything. There's nothing about this very indie movie that would make you think you're watching a cheap movie other than the lack of movie stars.
No. And I mean, and going back to the family and the whole Hallmark aspect of it is then you have Andy who's like, his dad comes, he's like, hey, the game's on, come on, watch the game.
Yeah.
So then he takes the extension cord with the power strip, plugs it in, sits in the armchair in the family room with all of them, and they're watching the game. And then Granny comes in and she's like, what are you all doing? It's time for church.
Yeah, and there are multiple scenes, including this one, where they're all talking and having like family discussions about wholesome things, and literally he's just zapping him in the back, and you just see him like in the back, and the actor
Steven
Hubbell, he does not. He sells everything with so much empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And empathy, like being able to sell pain with empathy is everything.
Yeah.
I was very, very impressed by how much he made me feel his pain along with him before he even gives his incredible monologues later. So yeah, woof.
So and the whole thing in regards of them going to church, it also presents this whole family dynamic that we get to see, like, that they're God-fearing people and that they have all this love for each other. But yeah, in the meanwhile, they have 4 people kidnapped in their basement that they're taking food from.
Well, and they establish so much that they're religious that it almost like they don't dive into their origins, which is good because it wouldn't make any sense to like have them sit and just go, so let me tell you about when we came over on the Mayflower and got infected by the Wendigo or some crap. We don't do that here. But there is reference to the fact that this is a tradition. It's long standing in their family. It is, etc. Actually, if there's ever a Mercy Christmas 2, you can steal that Wendigo idea. That's a good one, actually. That would actually work.
It would work.
But they do a great job of kind of establishing like, hey, this is what the family does. That's all there is to it. It's on the dad's side.
Yep.
And they cook and eat people. It sounds like they do it only around holidays like family gatherings is what it sounds like. But again, they don't really lay that out.
No.
The granny has no problem talking about how to cook human bodies. When they're talking about how much they miss their mom, it's about how she knew how to prepare human legs better and this and that. So, I mean, it is entirely their family's thing.
Yeah.
And there is a massive disconnect, which is meant to scare you. And it does. It scares me of how they're like, we have to go to church. We have to do this. We have to be kind on this and this and this. And then the people who are meat are just meat.
Yeah. And I mean,
there are multiple times where Briskett is very effectively, you think, getting sympathy from the killers. And then you realize that it doesn't, to them, you're just meat though.
Yeah. I think the biggest turning point, which we'll get to here in a second, is that you have the family dynamic happening and, everything. And Brisket's still holding on to the fact that maybe I can get out of this. Maybe I can convince.
He's in denial about the girl being one of them.
Yeah.
He thinks that she is just being taken along for the ride.
Yeah.
And the way they show that that's not the case is very effective.
So we'll get there in a second, but first, so they go to church, which means they take Briskett back down to the basement. That's when he gets to talk to Eddie and Catherine and all those guys.
Yes.
And Eddie is, rightfully so, just ready to pound these motherfuckers.
Eddie is basically
basically
me
you
in this. Yeah. I'm a pretty chill guy. I don't like to fight, but if you wrong me, I will eat your children alive.
Yeah. So, damn. What happens next is the family comes back from church, and by this point, they've called for help. Nobody's coming. They see that they're back, so they're like, okay, well, I guess we just got to do what we got to do. So the dad comes back downstairs talking to Bart about the game that they were watching because they had to step away. He mentions this thing about sneaking out of church and go listening to the game in the car.
Yeah.
And he says something along the lines of that, did mom ever see you doing that? And he's like, your mom probably did, but if she did, she never said anything. And literally, Eddie decides to call the mom a bitch, which makes Abe on a dime turn and look in the most evil thing of, what did you say? And just goes at him. And they pick him up and they start chopping his fucking legs off.
Yeah, they do. And it's freaking gruesome. And they cut off his legs, which they'd already referenced. This isn't a vengeance thing.
No.
They want to prepare legs.
Yeah.
That's what they want to have for dinner that night. So they cut off his legs, and it's as awful as it would be.
Yeah.
In real life.
It absolutely is, because not only is it just, multiple times the cleaver's going down, but the whole time they're doing it, Abe and Bart are still having a conversation about basketball and the family.
Yeah, they're
and
just
everything.
talking about whatever. It's just cooking. It's just getting ready to eat.
So they get the legs ready. They take them upstairs, and it's stocking time. And then that's when Philip, this whole time, has been annoying most of the family, but specifically Cindy, because the ex there, she doesn't want him there, clearly. Why the hell are you here?
Well, and he always has some annoying reference. He always has some annoying reference about, like,
Henry David Thoreau said.
Yeah, and Mahatma Gandhi always said, and they're just like, but the family, they're very nice. Like earlier, like the dad had said, there's always a place for you on our table.
Yeah.
Although, now that I think about it,
could have been. Could have been. It totally could have been, because the next thing that we see is Cindy has fucking had it, and he says one line too many, and by this point, they're doing the stockings, and there's a thread loose on the stocking, so she has a huge pair of scissors
to cut the little thread off.
Philip says the wrong thing, and we watch Cindy unleash on him with these scissors and just fucking kill him.
She stabs him. She stabs the fuck out of him.
Yes, she does. Blood's everywhere, and the whole time the family's watching, not freaking out, again, going back to this whole thing about how fucked up they are, and then the very end, she's like, what would be good for dinner or for dessert? Mincemeat pies.
That wasn't her idea. That was the dad.
Or the dad.
The dad suggested it.
Yeah.
But then she was like, oh, yeah. And then he's like, we could use
Philip.
Yeah. And he's just laying there dead.
Yeah.
So, and Philip knew they were cannibals.
Yeah.
He ate dinner with them.
Yes, he did.
So that goes to show you that there's an element, and actually that feeds into the religious aspect.
Yeah.
If they had been married, I don't think he could be on the menu.
Probably not.
Because then he'd be in the family, and they don't hurt people in their family. And the only thing that scares me more than unrepentant monsters is monsters that have a moral code. But all the things they're doing fit it. They're not hypocrites.
No, that's true.
That's what makes it scary.
Yeah.
They're not hypocrites necessarily. They fully understand why and how they're doing everything. And that makes me want to row.
Yeah, no kidding. So once Philip is dead and they're deciding that he's next, so we go back to the basement, and Andy goes and grabs Briskett again, because the one thing that just begins so hard to watch is Briskett is tortured, I would say, is an hour of this 80-minute movie.
He's constantly being tormented.
Yeah.
And not just physically, but emotionally. I mean, this motherfucker's telling him, like, no one will miss you.
No one will miss you.
This is why you're going to be on our table and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He's shattering him.
It really
as
is.
A person.
It's hard to watch, but then that's what makes the finale so much more satisfying, which we'll get to.
Yeah, and seriously, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to watch it, because I know we've been spoiling a lot, but like,
spoiler alert.
Like, we have so much to talk about that is so excellent. This movie delivers in every way.
Yeah.
But first,
So
yeah, you have to eat your meat before you can have your pudding.
back in the basement, they decide that brisket is going to be the meal for Christmas Day. So they are down there with him, and at this point, we have a fake out happen where Briskett tries to get away while Philip was being stabbed, and there's a knock at the door, and they get to the door.
And it's a cop.
It's a cop. It is a cop, and her name is Denise, and for just a brief second, we think there's hope until we find out, nope, that's Bart's girlfriend.
Bart's fiance, we find out very soon after. Yes. Which means that she's allowed to know what the family is doing.
Yes.
And this is a big thing, too. She was aware.
Yeah.
So now we're coming up on when she has to seal the deal by eating a piece of human flesh.
And naturally, with you have such a delicate family, you want to protect it, and that's what Andy is doing in regards to his anger immediately when he finds out that that Bart has brought an outsider into the family.
A girlfriend, that he didn't even know existed.
He didn't even know existed. And I love Bart's line.
Of course, they make it clear that he's like not involved with the family very much.
Bart's like, well, if you were here more, you'd probably know about it. We meet Denise, Bart's fiance, and she wholly embraces the family. Like, they love her.
No, she's pretty trepidatious at first.
Trepidatious at first, yeah, you're right.
Until that first bite.
Until that first bite, yes. So
which is honestly heartbreaking.
Yeah. They've prepared the legs. She's sitting at the table, and by this point, Bart and Andy have both had it out a little bit, so it's a little tension around the table.
Yeah, and which is hilarious, too, by the way. The tension in this family is totally normal family tension.
Yeah.
Because literally when he says, like, you let an outsider in here, he's like, well, if you were around the family more, maybe you'd know about her.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just normal family bullshit.
Yeah.
I love this.
So she is basically given the first bite. So they have this disgusting looking cooked leg on the table. So Eddie's leg has been cooked. It's served on the table. He goes in, cuts a chunk off, puts it on her plate, and basically says, this is the bite that's going to solidify you into the family.
Yeah, and it's a big buildup. Yeah. There's lots of suspense. She is like uneasy, but she's in it.
Yeah. And then
she takes that fucking bite. And the more, as we're talking about, the more I'm realizing how much it bothers me, because it's that moment of total perversion.
Yeah.
That moment where she's not going back anymore. And there are a lot of theories, not to go all the way back to the Wendigo again and stuff, but there are a lot of cultures that believe that once you eat human flesh, you become different.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very common thing in a lot of human societies, is this belief that once you eat flesh, you just become an other.
Yeah.
And in this film, that is expressed, because the moment she chews on that, her facial expression changes to joy. And then all she has to say is how good it is to the cook, who is I think she says, like, it's so rich.
So rich.
It's like, how did you make this so rich?
Yeah. And they go through the recipe.
Which, by the way, it's butter, you stupid bitch. Learn how to cook. Whenever people are like, wow, this is so good, it's like, hey, it's called butter, it's called garlic. Shut up. Anyway.
So by this point, Denise has been welcomed into the family, but Andy still has issue with it. And at one point, he actually grabs a steak knife on the table, and we don't know what he's going to do.
He starts leaning toward her.
Yeah.
And then the dad puts his hand on him and says, why don't you and I have a talk outside?
And they're drinking scotch, smoking cigars, and his dad.
They're smoking cigars to celebrate
the fiance.
Because right before that, we got a little ahead, but there's so much to talk about in this movie. Because he had the knife thing he leaned in, that was right after he had said, like, I proposed to her, and she said yes.
Yeah.
Because I guess like a week earlier, he had taken her on a trip and proposed to her.
Yep.
So now they're in the back and they're drinking scotch, and the brothers brought out cigars to celebrate. Cigars. And he's like, I got them from the gas station, but it's tradition,
And so Andy takes, like, reluctantly and ends up breaking it because he's still not going for this. And then back down in the basement now, Bart and Denise are down there with Briskett, and he's just patting him with an electric knife, pointing out the points of cut on him, how he's going to be served.
So dark.
And then he's like, we should probably tenderize him a little bit, and so he takes the fucking electric knife and cuts into his shoulder, and Briskett is just standing there crying in pain. Meanwhile, Eddie is still alive at this point, which is kind of a surprise, but Catherine has tried to defend him, and she ends up getting the wrath of Denise, which is where we see the turning point for Denise, not just with the bite, but she goes over and starts kicking the shit out of
wailing on
Catherine,
her unbelievably,
because she bites Bart when he's cutting Briskett.
Right.
So by this point now, Briskett has been cut, he's been tortured, and now him and Catherine are in the basement alone together because Eddie's kind of just passed out. And
it's a shock that he's alive.
Oh yeah, because they not only do they chop his legs with a cleaver, they also amputate him with an iron, because that'll come back into play.
Yeah, they cauterize the wound with an iron, which is just
vicious.
This is a funny movie.
Yeah, pitch black comedy.
But it's really dark.
Really dark.
And I really love it. But boy, howdy.
Catherine at this point has completely, just had it. She's already hated Christmas because we kind of forgot to mention that when they introduced the character. She's all fuck Christmas at the bar and everything.
Yeah. She's very negative on Christmas. And
Briskett tries to basically persuade her that Christmas is the greatest time. He goes into this
because he goes into this weird
take
mindset though, where he's explaining like that this is all wrong because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be hurting us. You shouldn't be hurting anyone. You're not supposed to do this at Christmas.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the time. That's the thing. It's like he has a moment where his mind can't comprehend this level of cruelty, let alone but on Christmas.
Yeah.
And to celebrate Christmas by harming people is just, it short circuits him for a second. And of course, her response is, fuck Christmas.
Christmas is dead.
Christmas is dead, which is, and the way she says it, that actress.
Christmas is
so
dead.
So good.
Yeah, no, she is phenomenal. So he is just distraught, destroyed now. And she's like, hey, who's the rudest reindeer?
So she sees that this hope and belief that Christmas is wonderful is all he has.
Yeah. So she tells a joke.
So she says, who's the
reindeer with the
worst manners?
Worst manners.
Who's the reindeer with the worst manners?
Rudolph.
And he chuckles and she chuckles.
Yeah.
And at that moment, if they die, a part of us will too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's such... I know I'm like losing my mind, but it's such excellent storytelling.
Yeah.
Not even good storytelling, excellent storytelling.
Yeah.
And it hit me right in the goddamn heart.
And to hit it even harder. So by this point, the family has basically done their initial Christmas Eve dinner. Everything's, getting torn down. Denise goes to leave and Bart tells her that she can stay the night. And
he says she should stay the night. And she's like, I don't think well, at first she makes an excuse about work. And then she says, I don't think your brother would like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me handle that.
So the family goes to bed, except for Andy, who goes back down to the basement, gets Briskett, and I shit you not when I say that he is shocking this poor guy while carolers are singing outside a beautiful song.
It's an incredible juxtapozition.
Yeah.
And this movie's full of those.
Yeah. And we're just hearing the electric, we're seeing the lights flicker, and just, it's just he's drinking freaking eggnog with whiskey and just pounding on Briskett to get this work done.
And they start to hint that one thing the family likes is their whiskey, because that eggnog is pretty thin on egg and very heavy on nog.
So Christmas morning comes. This is it, guys. This is the finale we've all been waiting for.
And I want to point out that one little thing we glossed over, because there is there's so much in this movie that's great, is Briskett, he tormented Briskett to the point of breaking to finish the work.
Yeah.
And when Briskett was like, no, because what was the name of the actress down there in the basement with him?
Catherine is played by, hang on.
I don't need the name of the actress, sorry, just the character. Catherine is, before he comes down there, she's like, don't do whatever he wants you to do.
Yeah.
Don't do it, which is how I would feel too. I'd be like, I know we're not going to live. I wouldn't do it either.
Yeah.
So when he comes down and Briskett's like, I won't do it, he does
strangle her.
He does the evil thing that evil people do in real life, which is when a person will resist, hurt someone else.
Yes.
Because if you have a real heart and soul, which these people do not, then you can't handle to see someone else suffer.
No.
So he starts kicking the hell out of her. And she's already been beaten to near death multiple times.
Denise,
And then he starts strangling her.
Yes.
And he tells Briskett, like, she's going to die right now if you don't do it. So he agrees to do it. So he's been electrocuting Briskett nonstop, tormenting him, tormenting her. And at one point, before we get to the big finale, he was even sitting there as Briskett was working and just shocking him and drinking eggnog for the fuck of it.
Yeah.
Brisket's not even he's
not even resisting.
He's not even resisting anymore. No. He's not even, I cannot overstate, this is not played for laughs.
No.
It's done so well that all you want in the world is for Briskett to be okay, is to get out of this. And also we want to mention the guy in the basement who lost his legs. Eddie. There's a point when Eddie's back to life and they've tied his hands up where, I mean, he's full of anger.
Yeah.
He's full of rage. Because there's a part where they're down there as he's like coming to, and they're like, if only your mother had been here to blah, blah, blah. And he just lifts his head up and goes, I bet she was a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
And they just beat the hell out of him. But like, This movie left an impact on me. I
Yeah.
apologize. I feel like I'm interrupting you a
you're
lot,
good,
Dave.
bud.
But I love this movie, and I think that what they did with this movie is very special.
Yeah.
But also, the worst part of me is so satisfied by what's coming. So go on, David.
Let's
Take
get
the
there.
wheel.
All right, so Christmas morning, Briskett wakes up and he sees that Eddie is chopping at his restraints with the broken Christmas ornaments that they've kicked down earlier in the movie. He gets free, and then we see that Briskett has now Eddie tied to his back with Christmas lights. So they are back to back. And
so he can carry him.
Yeah, they are going to break out. They are going to get free.
Because our friend down there, she is in no shape to leave, so they have to go get help.
Yeah. So they decide to put Eddie on his back, and they start crawling, and that's when we see that Denise is woken up. She's getting ready for work.
And that's the cop, although we found out she was a dispatcher, by the way. But still, that's still a police officer, but it's different.
So they come out of the basement. They're crawling around, and they're hiding from both Cindy and Denise because they have a discussion about how,
another Hallmark-like discussion about, like, well, next year I'll be able to help officially. And she's like, I'll really like that.
Yeah.
And Dave was laughing because Dave knows me, so he knows that I have this weird thing where when somebody is unbelievably cruel, I get unbelievably cruel about their character. And since I know where the movie's going, when she's like, next Christmas, I look forward to that. I'm like, yeah, about next Christmas. I'm like as bad as Eddie, because Eddie's just sitting there like, because he's in the cabinet on his back and he has the iron.
Yes.
And he's just like, open the fucking door, like he's just gonna, he's like ready to brain somebody.
We get the fake out at one point because while Cindy and Denise are talking, she's like, I can't find the measuring cups. Can you check the cupboard? That's where Briskett and Eddie are hiding in the cupboard. And Eddie is, he's like, oh, go, just fucking open the door. And then she finds them so they don't open the door. So then the
pantry.
Yeah, the pantry. Yeah. So then Denise gets ready to go to work. By this point, Eddie and Briskett have snuck past, and I think they are out. Yeah, they are outside.
Yeah, they make it outside without anybody seeing them.
So Denise goes to her car. She gets a call on her phone. It's Bart, and he's like, hey, I just wanted to say Merry Christmas, have a good day. And she's like, I'll be back later. Hangs up the phone, and then Eddie just from the back seat starts
they just pop up
wailing on her.
Eddie, no cute, no silly, beats her to death.
Beats her to death.
And then some.
Beats her to death, breaks her teeth with the iron, breaks her phone, keeps hitting her. Like, she's dead by the first 3 hits, and he's still going.
And here's an example of why the storytelling in this movie is top notch. He's hitting her and he's screaming, and I mean he's screaming that human foam is coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
He's drooling on himself because he's so primally has to kill these people.
Yeah.
And as he's hitting her, he breaks the key out of the ignition, which makes the car undrivable.
Yep.
And then as he's beating on her, when Briskett's like, she's not fighting. No, he says she's not fighting. She's not fighting. And he keeps hitting her. Then he bashes her phone without thinking.
Yeah.
Because he's so unbelievably angry.
Yeah.
And that is how you, without being cheap, set up what's about to happen next.
So they realize that since the car is undrivable, and also Briskett has a flashback to Catherine, and he's like, we have to go back for her. We have to save her. So they go up to the house, and by this point, everybody's waking up in the house. And the first one up is Granny, who's talking to Cindy, but then Bart's angry about something, and Andy's trying to go get his work done with Briskett. So they run into each other, smashes eggs against her. She's frustrated, and Granny's like, I'll go get the door. Opens the door, and Eddie, as you heard in the trailer in the beginning of the episode, goes, Merry Christmas, bitch, and serves that iron right into her face in the most satisfying hit of the movie.
Oh, I mean, it was so good.
So
good.
It
was fattening.
So from that point on, we are into Battle Royale because Granny hits the ground. Now Andy's down in the basement, sees that Briskett and Eddie are both gone. He's running up, and outside, Bart has found the cigars that Andy discarded, and he's pissed now too. Here's Andy scream, and now back
Andy
in the
screams,
house.
Briskett! Because he realizes he's escaped, but doesn't realize that they've already offed 2 family members with a third right on the way.
And we need to point out, too, that Briskett, before going into the house, took down a hanging basket and got the rod.
There was a basket of poinsettias. That's what I'm talking about. Like, Christmas is used to the fullest extent in this movie. It is not just a backdrop. It is all about Christmas. So there is a hanging hook for plants, and it's full of poinsettias, Christmas flowers.
Yeah.
He takes the poinsettias out, drops them, and the thing shatters, and pulls the hook out of the ground.
Yes.
Because it is time to F some mother effers in the A's.
So the first one first one after Granny follows in with the Abe. He comes out, and he's like, well, what's going on? And poor Brisket's like, I'm so sorry about
Yeah, he
this.
says I'm sorry to the grandma, and then he says I'm sorry, and he clocks him in the head.
Clocks him.
But this is where, again, why the movie's next level.
Yeah.
This is, and I'm sorry, I keep stealing all the good stuff from you. I love this movie.
I do too.
I really, really do. As he's hitting him and saying, I'm sorry, and then he's like, I'm not sorry.
Yes.
I'm not sorry, and I'm not stupid, and I have friends, and I'm not, and somebody would miss me. And it's a turning point.
His character arc.
For his character.
Yes.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Abe gets it. He gets thrown into the Christmas tree. Christmas tree comes down, kind of impaling him on a couple of the ornaments too. By this point now, Cindy has found out what's going on, but Catherine has also escaped from the basement.
And Catherine lays into that bitch like it's going out of style.
Yeah, so Bart's got a cleaver. He's going at Eddie. And keep in mind, tied back to back still. So they're both fighting.
So Eddie's
Andy,
on his back and punching.
Yeah.
And then
Brisket's fighting Andy.
Brisket's fighting Andy, getting punched, and the big guy's on the other side punching. Yeah, it is mayhem. It's like total mayhem. Super awesome, but super scary.
Gets the cleaver away from Bart, and he's like, unplug me. So they unplug him. Now Eddie is completely free, and Brisket's just wailing on Andy, and he's telling him, like Enrique said, I have friends, and fuck you, and all this stuff.
Yeah, he's just letting out all of the things that he's been told by Andy and by anyone else who's ever been a fucking prick to him.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
It absolutely is. And at one point,
it's really beautiful.
Eddie gets free of Bart, but Bart unfortunately gets the upper hand on him with the cleaver, kills Eddie, so we lose Eddie. So we think.
I mean, it is left ambiguous, but probably kills Eddie.
So by this point, then Catherine has now beaten Cindy in the kitchen with a rolling pin.
Yeah, they have a really excellent fight scene. That's very. I mean, like it's none of this is done poorly.
No,
and she ends up holding her face down in a pile of flour for making, usually for making crust.
Cookies. It's the cookie powder, I bet.
It probably is.
Yeah.
But usually when you make that thing, you're making dough.
Yeah, dough. She says she's making the dough for the mincemeats. Yeah.
So she pushes her face into the hole in the flour for the dough for the eggs to go in, and breaks her head with a rolling pin.
Yeah.
So she dies in this pile of flour.
Poetic.
Satisfying.
So now by this point, Bart has been stabbed by Catherine. So Bart's out of the picture. So it is literally just Briskett and Andy. And Briskett has wrapped the Christmas lights around his neck. He's choking him. Andy gets the upper hand at some point, but then Catherine turns on the switch, and now Andy is being shocked exactly like he's been doing to Briskett the entire fucking movie.
Yeah, he gets the fuck electrocuted out of him.
And Briskett, in a moment of triumph, grabs the bowl of eggnog and says, Mr. Robillard, I quit! And chucks it with the liquid, setting Andy on fire while the lights are going off.
Because they like a lot more nog than they do egg in there. And they set it all up.
Yes.
They did such a good job. And another reason this is a big deal for Briskett.
Yeah.
They establish multiple times that Briskett really has nothing else to live for but work and is terrified of losing his job.
Yeah.
There's a part where he's literally making an argument when he's half conscious in the basement about, he's like, a 401k, I get 36 days a year vacation. It is, if you've ever had a job you hate it, it is very, very powerful the way he's like defending subconsciously a job that is literally killing him.
Yeah.
Like he is going to die because of this. So I just wanted to mention that real quick, because that's another amazing moment. So when he says, I quit, it's actually kind of bigger than killing him. And so, so then
he's on fire.
And as the greatest monster of the film, his head melts.
Yeah, his head does melt. Indeed.
Yeah, like full-blown melts.
So Briskett grabs Catherine, carries her out the door, and he's looking up at the sky, and that they're out, they're celebrating, and he looks up at the sky, and he's like, I don't think it's going to be a white Christmas. And Catherine goes, we're in Southern California.
But she says it in a nice way. She's like, well, we're in Southern California.
And Briskett's like, I know, I was just hoping. And then she looks back at him and says, Merry Christmas.
Which is, oh gosh, tears. Which is Briskett's character.
Yeah.
That she's like, well, it's Southern California. He's like, I know, I just
hoped.
Because that's him.
Yeah.
Because even at the beginning of the film, when he has nobody who seems to care about him, nobody's going to come to his Christmas party, nothing. He's still all smiles.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a great Christmas.
Yeah.
And and so that moment to me, oof.
It's
what it said to me, and you can tell me if you think this is right or not. What it said to me is that the good part of him didn't die.
Yeah, I agree.
When he changed.
I agree.
Because a part of him did die.
Yeah.
And it needed to.
Yes.
But the good part of him, the thing about him that makes him him, still there.
Well, and I think also too with him getting through to Catherine, it's a beautiful shared moment.
Yeah, because she's like loving on Christmas now. And just know, if you ever wanted to know, hey, what kind of guy are you? Like, really? I am tearing up over the end of Mercy Christmas, a 2017 Christmas horror movie about cannibalism.
Yes.
Because it was that damn good.
Yes. And the final shot we get is, she said Merry Christmas and they've shared their moment. And then all of a sudden...
Whoa, hold on.
Okay.
You missed one thing, though. That's really great. As they're sharing that moment, they do the shot from straight above.
Yes.
And then it gets closer straight above.
Yeah.
And then when it cuts back to bottom level, there are Christmas carolers all standing there in shock.
Oh, my God.
and they're like, please call 911. You want to say what she says? It's
she
so
calls
good.
it and she's like, I don't know what's happened.
No, she's like, I want to report.
I want to report I don't know.
I don't know what.
There's people bleeding. Please send help. And then that is the end, my friends, of the 2017 Mercy Christmas.
A film that I cannot recommend enough. You watch.
God, it's so good. I mean, the final thoughts with it is, while it's a very dark holiday horror comedy, Mercy Christmas just offers a quick runtime, simple story, but characters that you just latch onto, and then once they get their comeuppance, it's just so satisfying. But also just the spirit of Christmas that still survives is a great character arc for Briskett. I mean,
Brisket's one of the best characters I've seen in a movie ever.
100%.
I'm not just in indie movies.
No.
He's just a phenomenal character.
He absolutely is. And I mean, it's one of those movies that the bond that him and Catherine form really rack up the hero factor for him. And it's the best happy ending that you could get for a movie like this, which is what we said at the beginning, isn't common with these movies.
Well, and what I picked up on when he was beating Andy, before he killed him.
Yeah.
He even said, like, I have friends. And I think he was referring to Eddie and her.
I think
and
he was
Catherine.
too. Yeah.
I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Because they all bonded down in the basement talking about their lives and stuff. And fuck yeah.
Yeah. No, I cannot. This to me is a rent it. You can find it streaming readily available right now.
Yeah.
But if it's one of those that you haven't put off, or it's like you don't have access to, whatever it is, if you rent this, you're going to have a good time with it.
Yes.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, while it's dark, like I said, it's just the payoff at that finale is so well earned.
It's so satisfying after the hell you have to go through to get there.
It absolutely is. So do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, I feel like I've raved about this movie so heartily throughout the whole show that you probably already know my opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
So, are we going to do our...
I'm going to do my recommendation. I've changed it since we started because the horror comedy falling into this. I have a love, and I know Henrique does too, of the 1999 film Ravenous, which is Guy Pearce and Robert Carlyle, where they are in a remote military outpost, and it turns out that there may or may not be a Wendigo that's infiltrated the fort.
Well, of sorts, yeah. They don't really say Wendigo, do they?
They say it. Oh, yeah, Wendigo.
Okay.
Wendigo legends mentioned heavily.
Oh, okay. I mean, I knew that was what they were referencing.
Yeah.
So that's your recommendation?
I'll put the other one in there just because it's a Christmas movie. If you want another bonkers and pretty, I would say, enjoyable Christmas movie, Christmas Bloody Christmas, Joe Begos film that came out last year, 2022, Christmas Eve, and Tori just wants to get drunk and party, but when a robotic Santa Claus at a nearby toy store goes haywire and begins a rampage killing spree through her small town, she's forced into battle for survival.
And that's the reason that I think that's a good recommendation to watch is because it is a Christmas movie. It's all about Christmas.
Yeah.
It's got some very legitimate characters.
Yeah.
But it's also bonkers.
It's bonkers.
And pretty damn satisfying.
And also, just if you're not a fan of the word fuck, you may want to skip that one.
Yeah, that's a fair point. and as far as I want to point out, so between stream it, rent it, or buy it,
yeah,
I would say buy it if you're a horror movie fan.
Okay.
Stream it if you're just kind of a horror movie fan.
Curious, yeah.
Because you probably won't want to watch it again and again because it is really heavy.
Yes.
There are some movies that I love, but you got to earn it.
You got to earn it. Yeah.
And I don't put on funny games every other week. I put on funny games every so often when at this point, really, when I have to do a podcast
I was
about funny
when
games.
you have to show it to somebody or talk about it. Yeah. So that is it for Mercy Christmas 2017, directed by Ryan Nelson. And Ryan, if you are listening, watching this, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you.
Don't I have him on my Facebook?
It wouldn't surprise me, but I would personally love to hear from you and hear the story of this movie because I really think that this is an underrated gem that more really need to find, especially this time of year.
Yeah, I agree. Mercy Christmas, absolutely, positively a must-watch for your holiday horror viewing experience. or even if you just like watching something a bit challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my friends, as we wrap up yet another episode of Do You Even Movie, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us. It's been really fun so far. And actually, this episode turned me around. I was having a horrible night because Dave's here. But I was having a rough night, and this turned it around because I really love this movie.
Yeah.
And also, because people always wonder, like, what's with the notepad? I actually wanted Dave to just know he was a good friend because he was
buddy.
He was working with me on the show and just like and bearing with me because but anyway, I'm getting too sidetracked. But I want to say thank you so much for watching. Please go to doyouevenmovie.com if you want to contact us or just find out more about the show. Make sure you get subscribed. We need reviews.
Yes, absolutely.
On Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yes.
You don't even have to leave words. You just star ratings help the show immensely. We are just now launching it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you come from our Freddy's Nightmares podcast, so I thank you for that.
We appreciate
If you want
it.
to email us, we love getting movie recommendations and anything else. doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. And where are we on social media?
We are on social media at Facebook, Do You Even Movie Podcast, and you can also find us on Instagram, Do You Even Movie Pod, and that is where you can find updates in regards to clips from our episodes and also upcoming information we may or may not be sharing.
Yeah, so until next time, my friends, make sure you drink a little eggnog and please don't eat your coworkers.
Skip the brisket this year.
Skip the brisket this year, or better yet, find the brisket in yourself.
There we go.
So we'll see you guys next time.
We'll see ya.